listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, hosted by Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, where he features successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey, I'm Matthew Lauren, president of Esq.Marketing, and you're listening to the Esq.Marketing podcast, where we feature successful solo and SMB law firms from all over the United States, and today outside the United States. This episode is brought to you by Esq.Marketing. We help law firms generate more clients and cases using search marketing. And speaking of successful law firms, today I have the pleasure of speaking with Blake Chapman. Blake is the owner of Life Planning Law, a wills and estates planning law firm based in Ontario, Canada. Before Blake founded his firm, he did a doctorate in behavioral economics and law, and he currently holds a Ph.D., master's, and J.D. in law. Blake, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we were just talking before the show. I know it's a lot of schooling, and you were talking. It was kind of interesting, our conversation about branding yourself when you're going into a tenure track, and how, with all that schooling, they don't really touch on marketing a whole lot, which is super important for people founding their firms. Where did you? So when you got out of school, did you figure out you kind of had to take on this other part of your education where you had to figure out how to start your firm and how to market it and how to promote it?
Yeah, as soon as I kind of decided that an academic life wasn't going to be for me, at that point it was, okay, this business that I'm going to start is going to support my family. I better do it right. And so I better figure out how the hell to do it.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of reading on marketing, branding, starting your own practice. And really, if you're going to do it, you got to do research. And, if lawyers are good at anything, it's research. So you should be able to figure it out. And a lot of it does come down to testing it once you open it. Like, you're not going to be perfect when you start your practice. I certainly wasn't. I look back at some of the things I did when I started, and I'm horrified with the things I did, both on the marketing and just on like the client experience and the systems I had in place. But, you get better over time. You just got to learn from your mistakes and move on.
Was there a resource that you went to on a regular basis, like one single resource, or did you kind of find like blog post videos all over the internet on how to market your firm?
Honestly, it was a lot of Googling.
Okay.
Figuring out how to market the firm. You could hire. I couldn't hire a marketing company at that time. I had no money.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really an option for me. So I figured I got to kind of bootstrap it and learn how to do it myself. And I wasn't even into like digital marketing at that time. It's really only been the last few months that I've kind of taken a dive into digital marketing, because I looked at the numbers and realized how much of my business comes from Google. And I had actually done very little on the Google front. So I figured, wow, if I've done practically nothing and getting, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the last few years from it, maybe if I actually spend some time on it, I'll get more.
Yeah, for sure. And that's interesting you say that about Googling and researching online. That's how I got started. That's how a lot of my colleagues got started, and how a lot of other attorneys I've spoken with got started with digital marketing and promoting their firms, is just kind of piecing together information from different sources and learning about it on the internet. It's really a great way too. And I like how you said testing, because it's so important to just keep refining your process and try to do different things, because you never get it right the first time. It's always, design, implement, test, and then tweak.
Yeah, but you got to, really keep track too of what works. And I'm a big stats nerd, so I'm happy to have a giant spreadsheet where I track things. But, I talk to a lot of lawyers, and they, do some advertising here and there. And I ask them, what's the return on investment? I don't know. Spend $5,000 a year in a local newspaper ad. Does that work? Like, does it generate a return on investment? I do that, and yes, it does work for me. I tried a different ad size, and it increased the revenue. But you got to know what you're doing, and you got to track what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I was reading your LinkedIn profile, and you talk about helping other attorneys with their marketing. Is that something that you're still involved with? Do you belong to any groups, or you reach out to other attorneys to help them?
I've had a lot of sort of one-on-one meetings with new lawyers, or lawyers that have been lawyers for a long time but are thinking of going out on their own. and more of, they see that I've been relatively successful at building my own practice and building a practice that sort of fits my life and fits my family. And so we sort of have those one-on-one meetings where I'm very candid about what works for me and the process I use, and that maybe they can try some of that or learn from some of it themselves. I've thought of starting a blog about it, to be honest, because I am fully transparent about what works and what doesn't and where my revenue comes from. And, I think it's important for lawyers to share that kind of information with other people. It doesn't provide any competitive advantage for me necessarily to keep it private. And I want to help new lawyers because there was nobody out there to help me when I started. And so I wish I could have had that conversation about some new ideas and some things that work and some things that don't work.
Yeah, that's great, man. You should start a blog. I've a lot of the blogs that I follow that taught me about digital marketing were, I think, started with a similar mission, just to kind of put information out there based on someone's own experiences and try to help other people. And I know that's a lot of what we do in our work is just putting out content that helps people do their jobs better.
Yeah, a lot of it doesn't even need to be like complicated, in-depth stuff with jargon that nobody understands. The last couple of years, all I've had on digital marketing is a Google My Business profile, some
Good
reviews,
move. Yes, very important,
and a website with some decent content. Not much. Like I haven't had a new blog post in 2 years, and I've gotten, like I said, over about $200,000 now in revenue from that alone, and I've done like nothing. Like it's like the basic as you can get is to have a Google My Business profile, ask for a few reviews, and have a decent website. Like this is not rocket science. You don't need to be a pro at SEO or pay-per-click ads. Like just get started on something basic.
Yeah, that's great advice. And you don't. I mean, it's all super easy stuff. When I talk to people, sometimes they're like, they get bogged down in the weeds about doing technical SEO or doing any kind of tricks with digital advertising. And I mean, there's really nothing. There's no rocket science behind it. There's nothing complicated about it. It's really just putting yourself out there, doing good work, and making decent content, making a decent website, and over time, traffic, business will come.
Yeah, one of the things I can't stand with lawyer websites, and is people make these great websites, and I'm sure they paid web designers a lot of money to do it, but they don't actually go into thinking about, who's my client going to be, and what kind of website do they like, and what kind of information are they looking for?
Yes.
Like, are they going to be the kind of person that likes the scales of justice kind of logo that everybody else in the world has?
No.
They want to see you in a dark suit looking mean. Honestly, most people don't want that. Most people want a real person that they can talk to, that they're not intimidated by, which is why on my website, I have a lot of pictures of my family.
I love that.
Like that's who I am. I'm a family guy, and this is what you're going to get when you work with me. Like right now I'm in my basement. Like I'm not using some fake background to hide that fact. What you see is what you get. And honestly, a lot of people comment on it about how they like that it's me and they feel like they see me personally and that I have a friendly face. And so, it's done great work for me. And it's really just about kind of trying to think about what do my clients like and how would I like to be treated? And that's sort of the one sort of golden rule that I keep coming back to is treat people how you want to be treated. And trust me, that'll lead to good business.
Yeah, that's you're on the right track, because when people come to your website, I mean, they see, so you're a wills and estates planning lawyer, and when people are in that mindset, I feel like they're in a position where they want to protect their family. They're thinking about the future and how they're gonna craft their life to help their loved ones, maybe when they're gone, or maybe for whatever reason, whatever happens in the future. And when they come to your website and they see family and they see caring, that resonates with them, because that's what they're thinking about at the moment. Yeah, if they saw like scales of justice or a courtroom or documents and things like that, it would be relevant to estate planning, but it's not how they feel. It's not speaking to them and what their mindset is right now. And same thing for other attorney websites. Like if you're a PI lawyer and you're doing car accident cases. Like no one's caring about the process. They want to know someone's going to listen to their problems and fix, the situation that they're in.
Yeah, they want a person, right? They want real people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the personal injury firms have tested this because they, in the marketing world of law, they're kind of at the top in the most competitive area and most expensive area. But I go to some personal injury law firm websites and I see like the pictures of car crashes and stuff. And I wonder to myself, if I was in a car crash, would I really want to see that kind of picture when I'm looking for a lawyer?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess they've tested it out, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I think it's maybe a borderline between relevance and speaking to the consumer. But you're right. I mean, as business owners, sometimes we think we know what people want to see, and then when we do research and actually try to figure it out, we realize that we're completely wrong. I know from other businesses I've worked with, we've hired copywriters who do research. And even in the agency world, we figured out like all the stuff we had on our website was completely wrong. Especially for attorneys. Like most attorneys we work with, they don't care about ranking number one or generating leads. Like that's a part of it, but they want transparency and they want open communication and they want responsiveness. Yeah, I agree. It's good to have your site framed in a way where it just talks about you and it's real and it's transparent. I really like that.
It's funny that you mentioned the transparency and responsiveness because I just got off the phone with somebody, a potential client who had contacted a bunch of lawyers, like at least 5, and I was the only one that got back to them.
Oh,
and,
no.
It was an easy client to get because I was the only one that replied. And I get probably a client a week who has a lawyer already that has done like their will that they want to change, and the other lawyer doesn't get back to them. So they'd rather just start new with somebody that replies to them. And I hear this all the time. And like, this is, marketing goes beyond having a website and, what your brand is. It's also just about basic client responsiveness.
Yeah, basic good customer service.
Yeah, if you have good customer service, that I think that automatically puts you probably in the top 25% of lawyers that are practicing in terms of your marketing, because not many people are doing it. It's pretty low hanging fruit.
Yeah, so I noticed that you just focus on the wills and estate planning. Was there a conscious decision to go into just one specific niche, which I think is a good idea, by the way?
Yep, for sure. So when I was sort of developing my practice, I was going through a lot of different areas of law that I liked and that I thought I could practice in. And I knew I needed to, as we call in Canada, niche down. We call it niches up here. I knew I needed to do that. And so I was thinking, well, I could have like a general practice, but unless I live in a small town where there's nobody else, that's not going to work. Yeah. And so I thought about what kind of areas I wanted to practice in. I thought about what kind of areas of law I could do, like without an office, with keeping my overhead low, without staff, because I'm just me. It's just me here. And I wanted to keep it that way. And I wanted to practice where I didn't have to go to court, because I hate doing that. And a practice that sort of fits my life. And this was kind of the only one. And it worked out well. And I have no regrets about it. It's been a great ride. And even recently, I've decided to sort of reframe my marketing around the estate planning side of things. Doesn't mean I'm not doing like probate or estate administration or executor work. Just means from a marketing point of view online, there's a strong focus on estate planning now. And I'm finding that's almost doubled my business in the last few months alone.
Yeah. I think there's, with everything going on in the world, much more focus on people planning for the future. I know it's affected how I think about it, and see a lot of that online. So I have to ask about your how you position like your family and home life, work-life balance. I have 5 kids of my own. I also work from home. And I just think it's neat. Was that intentional to kind of build a life around that? Working from home, being able to spend more time with the family, build your business in that way?
Yeah, it was intentional. That was the plan initially. I'd been a graduate student for a long time there, and I kind of got used to the graduate student life of working from home and being your own boss. And I wanted that to continue. And I wanted to be in my kids' lives and walk them to school. I wanted to be able to take a Wednesday off if I felt like it, and be in charge of my own schedule. And, that's probably the number one thing that I'm most happy about, is how my scheduling has worked out and how building my own practice has allowed me to build my own family time. Like, I think last year I took about 12 weeks of vacation. Now it's not real vacation where I ignore emails for a week. I do reply to emails, but there weren't any meetings. There weren't any projects that I needed to get done or documents I needed to get done. And, if you tell people this and you tell clients this is what to expect, they get it. I'll mention to a client, well, I'm going on my vacation next week. And they'll be like, okay, no problem. Can you get it to me the week after? I'm totally fine with that. You just got to be upfront with people.
That's really great. It's neat to see that. I bet that provides a lot of happiness and fulfillment in your life. As one final question, Blake, for new attorneys out there, like, so people just graduating, or maybe they're leaving a firm they've worked for, what's a good piece of advice you have for them?
Well, it's a tough one.
If they're gonna start like their own firm,
definitely pick a niche or niche to focus on. I don't think you can go broad. You got to get as narrow as possible, so that you are sort of that guy or the girl that does whatever area of law it is. Because people want to work with specialists. They generally don't want a general practitioner. They want to focus on one particular area and feel like they're getting expert advice. I would say if you're thinking of going solo or with a firm right now, plan in advance. I worked on my firm like a year before I took on a first client. Now, it wasn't a year solid, but, I thought about it constantly. I built out my website so it was ready to go. I had some marketing materials ready to go. And during that process, you really figure out what the firm's going to look like. You might have an idea now, but when you actually sort of get into the weeds of doing it, it really starts to take shape, and it will help you figure out where to focus your marketing efforts and dollars. And, you got to, when you're starting out, dollars are hard to come by. So you really got to be careful about it. And, there's a lot of fancy tech out there. I tried probably like 6 practice management softwares trials when I was getting started, and I ended up using none of them. I use Excel, probably because I'm a spreadsheet nerd, but it just works for me, right? You got to find out what works for you, and don't try and fit yourself into somebody else's world, and just be yourself, and trust me, you'll be happy.
That's great advice. You've been listening to Blake Chapman, owner at Life Planning Law. Blake, if people are interested in wills and estate planning, where can they go to learn more about your firm?
Yeah, lifeplanninglaw.ca is my website. You can also find me on LinkedIn. And maybe one of these days I'll start that blog on my marketing efforts and how things work and don't work from my perspective.
I think that's a good idea. Blake, thanks for being on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the ESQ Marketing Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.